So what comes next? That's a question so many of us are asking ourselves right now, but so few of us have the answer for. I just graduated from college, and I sit here to this day asking myself, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And the issue with that question is no matter what you have going for you, you still have to ask it. You could have a great job, you could have your resume tight, you could have a girlfriend, you could have a future in front of you, and you'll still be sitting there left wondering, what now? And I believe that this is an essential part of growing into an adult. Because what is next? I mean, we are supposed to have our whole lives in front of us, and the prospect of that is actually scary. And that means that there is this degree of meaninglessness, of fear and uncertainty that you have to have the answers for. And that is a really large responsibility to put onto any young adult in the modern age. And the problem is that this question was never easy, right? I mean, it's always going to be a little bit difficult when you're coming of age into manhood or womanhood or whateverhood, and you don't know who you are and what you're supposed to be in the world. But the figures and pathways ahead of us that were supposed to guide us and therefore be the archetypes of what happens next no longer exist in the same way. And one of the biggest factors we can see in that is the fucking job market. Like, I know people who graduated last semester and still have no job. I graduated now. I'm happy to have a few clients for my business, but even then, this pressure of actually building a financial future in front of me is terrifying. And that's what's the problem, is that not only do you have to create the meaning, but you also have to have meaning that is self-sustaining. And so you're kind of stuck between a rock and the hard place where if you lean so far in the direction of meaning, well, okay, great. You've answered one of your questions, but then you're leaning far away from the independence and financial certainty that needs to come with your future. And as these like economic opportunities are being soaked up by, BlackRock, all these private equity firms that are squeezing the consumer for your dollar, let alone fucking gas being, $120 to fill your tank. Where the fuck are you supposed to find that opportunity? It just doesn't exist. And so any little smidge of a breath of fresh air is constantly graded in compared against this economy that puts people in a disadvantageous position. And that's what's so difficult to understand about this prospect for parents, is that they did not have to experience the same hardship. Things were straightforwardly hard, all right? You grew up in the Great Depression. Shit's hard. You had to shine shoes, and then you had a president that thankfully supported you guys in coming out of that on top, all right? You had a war. You had, the 2008 financial crisis, but it still wasn't this benign dying of the modern economy that we have to deal with, because for some reason, we're in denial of how things are. Okay, all right, shit sucks. But on the surface level, the fondant to the cake of the modern economy looks all right. And so as a result, you can't really fucking complain about it, because if you complain about it, then you're being weak, or you're not seeking the right opportunity. You're just not savvy enough, because if you were hustling harder, then somehow you would make it. And this is absolutely ridiculous, because it just puts you in a position where you have no breathing room. And so people that had these dreams coming out of college, all this momentum, and suddenly feel like it's fluttering out, are only left to blame themselves. And when you only blame yourself, you're not actually able to see clearly, because as soon as you begin to blame the economy, blame your parents, blame the things around you, it actually gets easier to see the path clearly, because you are not the one obstructing your own success. The reality is, it's probably other people. So what the fuck are you supposed to do about that? I mean, I think it's frustrating too, because, you want to make it on your own and you don't want to blame other people for it, but being able to say things as they are what actually allow you to navigate this appropriately. But that's what's challenging, is that that's considered to be taboo, and we are so hard on our peers, and we view them with this lens of, oh man, you can't really say how shit is, because if you say how shit is, then you're weak, right? Don't be one of the millions of sheep out there that just says, oh man, this sucks, right? Because once you start to do that, then you let it infiltrate your brain, and then you let it actually seep inside of you, and then you actually become a failure, because being a failure is an embodiment and an emotional state. Well, I don't actually disagree with that. But what I do disagree with is the fact that this idea or concept is corruptive. I think what's corruptive is being in denial that the state of things are okay. I mean, look at the recent presidency. People voted them in and like, oh man, it'll be good, whatever, it's not that bad. And then shit starts crushing down on your fucking neck, right? Shit is down on your neck. Gas prices are up. The cost of food is up. The cost of living is up. No one gives a fuck about your struggles. We're sending millions of dollars, billions of dollars abroad when you can't afford your health care, right? And that reality is something that has probably hit most of you pretty slowly, and it hasn't even hit it yet in its totality, because if you're a young adult, you still have this degree of shelter under your parents, under their money, under their economy, and you don't really have to grapple with the reality of shit being ass backwards. And in itself, that is an issue because it's this collective denialism as a society that things are okay. And this doesn't even extend just financially. It's a moral righteousness that we're okay with blowing people up. We're okay with deporting people that have lived here their entire lives. Like, it's pretty fucked up collectively what the government does. And if you deny that, you're just denying it to yourself. And you're just denying it to your peers, because the more that you resist this idea of a negative state of things, the more that you allow it to continue. And so real change actually has to happen through frustration, because through frustration, you are actually invigorated enough to be like, nah, fuck this. Because the people that you care about are being fucked over on a day-to-day. And if you don't stop it from happening, then you're fucked for the rest of your life. Because this isn't something that just you fix overnight, okay? The dismantling of support systems for people, young adults, people in our country, well, that doesn't just come back instantly. So what are you left with when you become complacent? You are left with a state of decay. And through decay, you can find opportunity. But that opportunity does not come from conventional paths. It comes with creating your own voice, creating something creative and standing out there. But there really is so much market opportunity and so much that you can do, because the people at the top are already dividing up the cake, and they don't want you to raise up. They don't want you to be, within their class, because if you're a part of them, then you're eating their food. And that's how capitalism works. But capitalism now is just fucking authoritarianism with a different name, because in real capitalism, there's competition. There's the people that speak well. There's the people that are talented and skilled that are supposed to rise to the top. But instead, we have this oligarchy of richness and bullshitness and fucking Epsteinness that just gets fucking shit in your face, right? And that's what's ridiculous. And don't even get us started on the student loans. I want to speak on this a little bit. We had the biggest fucking CEO of Duke Energy, this person that runs and monopolizes all the energy for the states in the South, speak at our graduation. The few weeks after, they raised our rates up to 18% for our energy cost. And yet, the CEO is getting a pay bump. And yet, we let that CEO come in our house and shit in our mouths. Are you serious? Like, how could we tolerate a CEO that is fucking strangling the people of our state and strangling the youth come in and tell us about success, about pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps? That is absurd. That's preposterous. And the fact that we let them come in here and human centipede their assholes to our mouths is insane. So we need to stop doing that. You need to rise up and say something, because the moment that you stay silent is the moment that you truly tolerate this. And tolerating this has gone on for too long. And the power that you have to speak up is so much stronger than you realize. Because by speaking up, we find unity. By speaking up, we find community. And through community, we find change. And, the French did this. Sometimes a revolution is intense. Sometimes it's chaotic. But through fire is born diamonds. Through fire is born beauty. And without this angst, without this frustration, you can't call it how it is. So let's call a spade a spade. Let's stop bullshitting with each other. Because it's time for change. And it's time to not be the next doomed generation.